the dorsal aorta? Did we even talk about that? Or did we even look at that on here?
Believe we did.
I don't think we tried to look for that.
Yeah, I don't know where it's at. I'm not even gonna play. I don't know where it's at.
So right. So remember last time we left with the efferent brachial arteries in that other dissection?
Right.
They all gather in the dorsal aorta, which runs throughout the whole body cavity.
I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
So that's the
So
dorsal
this is the
aorta.
dorsal aorta. Okay.
Yes, the
That-
dorsal aorta is going to be the largest artery. It's singular. It runs right down the middle of the body cavity. So on the dorsal surface, it's where the name comes from. So dorsal aorta is dorsal to the organs. The ventral aorta is down here, ventral, right? Also, what you'll have then is you're just looking for the branches off of that dorsal aorta.
Right.
So what we'll do is if we look in here, way up here, we have an artery by itself and it's branching off really high up underneath the liver. That's going to be your celiac artery.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So, and the easy way to identify that too is the celiac is going to split into 3. So it's going to run and then just hit this and then go into 3 different arteries. So what artery is this? This is one of them that comes off.
That's the. We identified that one earlier.
So what organ is this? This is going to be the gastric artery because it's on the
Right.
stomach,
Right.
right? So then we have another branch running along with this big vein right here, and it's going to the liver.
Is that the
Hepatic.
hepatic portal vein?
It's going to be the hepatic portal vein, and then the artery is really small. So there's the little
Oh, I
hepatic
see.
artery.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's
wait.
going to supply blood to the liver. Then you have one more branch off of that celiac artery, which is going to come right here.
It's the intestinal.
So it's going to be the anterior intestinal artery because it's fed by the anterior artery.
So with the posterior, just be on the opposite side. So
Yeah,
That
opposite
bottom
side, and it's
Bottom
going to be,
side, yeah.
and it's going to be fed by another artery,
Oh,
which we'll
okay.
get to here in a little bit. So, and then of course the anterior intestinal artery is going to lead to the, what are those?
The
Annular
and
veins
arteries.
and arteries.
Yeah, right. And so this, of course, will be the anterior intestinal vein. You'll have the gastric vein, hepatic portal vein. So then that's the first branch off of the dorsal aorta. If we move a little bit farther back, like we said, we had the anterior, but we have the posterior intestinal arteries here. And so what we'll see, so we'll flip her over because y'all have so many baby sharks in there, it makes it a little bit tricky. So right there, your finger are actually on the next 2 coming off. So we see those 2 arteries there. The order that they come off can vary between individuals, but what's important is where they go. One is running here to the spleen. The other one, if we follow it, is going to lead to those posterior intestinal arteries. This is going to be the anterior mesenteric artery. So the anterior mesenteric leads to the posterior intestinal. So it's kind of counterintuitive. But then this one here, which supplies the spleen, is going to be the lienogastric artery. So lieno refers to the spleen. And then also gastric means stomach. The spleen sits at the back of the stomach. So it's like the spleen-stomach artery, you can kind of think of. It does supply some arteries to the stomach, but not many. Most of it to the spleen. So then we come a little bit further back. So this was our anterior mesenteric artery. Our last major artery to come off that we'll be able to see here is,
Off the rectal.
yeah, it's supplying blood to that rectal gland, and it's in this little posterior mesentery here. So that's going to be the posterior mesenteric artery.
Right.
So you actually have a separation where you don't have any mesentery. So you could consider this the anterior mesentery, the mesogaster, where you have that anterior mesenteric artery coming off. Here you have that posterior mesenteric artery. And then, ooh, y'all have a really good iliac artery as well. So that's supplying blood to
Wait, which
the
one is it?
pelvic, right
That
there.
big
Okay.
Yeah, so the iliac is the hardest to see in the dogfish because it just runs in the body wall and it just disappears because it runs blood here. But yeah,
Oh yeah, that's when you were talking about earlier. It's hard to see.
yes. So y'all have a good one.
Okay.
But that's essentially it. The only other 2 things are you'll notice if you look in the body wall here, we'll have a major vein.
Lateral abdominal.
And then right next to it is a thinner artery. And that's going to supply blood to the same area. That's going to be the ventral lateral artery. So lateral abdominal, is it lateral abdominal? Yeah, lateral
Yeah.
abdominal vein. And then The only other thing, which you can't really see here, you do have a vein. So in yours, your dorsal aorta is so big, you can't really see the vein. There's a vein running on either side, which is going to be that posterior cardinal vein. And that's going to be the major vein, which drains all of the blood from the posterior into the body and takes it to the heart.